The Peugeot 208 is really everything you might want in a car. It has the design, it has the aesthetic of a modern vehicle, it offers all of the features inside, and it is comfortable. How's it going everyone? David from dodmedia. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about BRoll and how you can optimize your workflow in Premiere Pro. So first of all, what is BRoll? I think to answer that properly, first of all, you need to address what is A-roll. A-roll would be interview footage. It would be your main footage that you're going to want to overlay B-roll on top of to complement the A-roll. So while you have a talking head like this talking about something, say lenses, you could then have your B-roll be footage of that lens you're talking about and you cut away to it. Now the thing about B-roll is you tend to get a lot of it. You tend to want to gather a lot of it, and it doesn't have to be a specific thing. It can be textural shots, it can be motion shots, it can be all sorts of stuff. And because you're capturing so much stuff, it can get a little bit tricky when it comes to the editing process to actually organize that and figure out what you shot and remember what you shot. Or if you're an editor who didn't actually shoot the footage, but you're receiving all of this on a drive like I often do, then you need to kind of make a bit of sense of it, because otherwise you've just got this huge directory of files that you don't know what they are. So let's say you've shot your interviews, you've shot all your B-roll, you've got it all on a hard drive and it's on your computer and it's ready to drag into Premiere Pro. Let's jump into Premiere Pro and see what that looks like. Okay, so you've imported your footage into Premiere Pro and it would typically just look like this. You would have it all as one big list of footage, or if you've imported it from a folder, you would have the folder and within that you'd have this big list of footage. And it retains the original file names, so there's really very little detail as to what that footage contains. Here I've just cut together this intro sequence that you saw at the very beginning, which is A-roll featuring there. Lovely face that, look at that. So the interview sequence is the A-roll. And then the B-roll, which is on the channel 2, is actually overlaid on top of that A-roll so that it provides visual elements to cut away to during that interview. Now granted, here there's only 4 clips of B-roll, but if you're working on a big documentary or even a promo video for something, you're going to have so much more B-roll than that. And it's going to be an absolute nightmare to organize, even if you've shot it, if you just leave it in this list without adding any structure to it. So here's what I recommend you do. Create folders or bins by using this little icon here, or you can right click and hit new bin, or you can just do Control or Command /. Then if you want to benefit from Premiere Pro's user interface, just come down here and change the view to that view. And this way you actually get to scrub through the footage just by hovering your mouse over it. And it gives you a nice little preview of what that clip contains. But as I mentioned earlier, this is just a small handful of clips. And if you have loads of clips and they're all considerably longer than these, 6 seconds, 22 seconds. If you have much longer clips than that, using these live previews is really going to drain your computer's resources, because it's going to have to calculate the previews for all of the clips that you have loaded up. So here's what I like to do. I like to come back to this list view. I like to come up to these 3 lines here and just hit thumbnails. And that way you see the thumbnails of your clip without being able to drag through them. It doesn't generate those same previews. And so you can just move stuff around nice and easy. Here I can see these are both A-roll shots. So I'm going to take both of those, put them in A-roll. And then these are B-roll shots. Now, this is an exterior shot, that's an exterior shot, that's an exterior shot. But then these 3 are interior shots. So what I'm going to do is hit Control or Command / and say interior. And now I can take these 3 bottom clips and put them in interior. Then I'm going to do the same thing and do exterior, and take these 3 clips and put them in exterior. Now I'm going to take these 2 folders and put them in B-roll. And now it's just a little bit cleaner. You can see where your clips are immediately based on the folder structure, and you can minimize them so that if you have hundreds of clips, you don't have to see hundreds of clips. You just see the relevant ones that you want to work with. Now, although all of these are 120p, let's say that you shot these 2 at 24p and this one at 120p, and you know that you wanted this one to be in slow motion. Well, you could right click on that, modify interpret footage, and turn that into 23.976. And that way it'll play that clip back at 24 frames a second from the 120 frames a second source, which means that it's playing back at 20% of its original speed. Head over to watch my tutorial on slow motion workflows if you want to know a little bit more about that. So again, to differentiate between these, you could either add another subfolder or you could use the color labels. So you could right click on that, go to label and assume that everything that is rows is in slow motion. And this is down to you putting in a color convention for your own workflow. You need to remember what colors you use for what so that you can make some sense of it. And then if I was really dealing with a lot of different clips, what I might even do is create a nest for all of those shots from the interior and then another nest for all of those shots from the exterior so that I could load them up in the source panel with markers and just scrub through the entire interior B-roll sequence, the entire exterior B-roll sequence, without having to double click on each individual clip to scrub through it. So to do that, you would just take a clip, drag it down to this new sequence, it'll create a new sequence with that clip in it, and then just drag these other two clips in there as well, and put them at the end there. You could rename this to int B-roll, right click on that, open in Source Monitor, and then if you come to the end of these clips here, where there's a division between the two clips, hit M, and hit M again, it will place markers on this sequence so that you can navigate knowing that those are where the new clips start and end. And that way, if you came back to your main sequence, your promo sequence, where you have all your A-roll and you're looking to overlay your B-roll, you can just load up your int B-roll sequence, which is all of your B-roll from the interior, in your source monitor, scrub through it in one timeline instead of having to click on loads of different clips, and you can use the markers to navigate between the different clips knowing where they are. You could even say, all right, that's a really good shot. I know I'm going to want to use that later. Hit M twice. It'll bring up this marker and you could leave an orange marker saying use. That way you know that is a point of interest that you want to return to later in your edit. And so that's really all there is to it. It's mainly about organization, markers, and color coding. So a balance of folder structure, separating all of your B-roll clips to a category or a location. It doesn't have to be exterior, interior. It could be Paris, London, New York. Doesn't matter. If you're doing a travel film, for example, you would probably want to have lots and lots of subfolders just to be able to divide and conquer a little more easily. And granted, it does take a little more time to set up, but if you're working on a big project, you will be so thankful that you took that little bit of time to set it up in the beginning. It will just save you so much time in the edit process. All right, I hope you found this helpful. Obviously, it depends on what you're shooting. It depends on the scale of the project that you're working on. But I think this is a method that can really help you just streamline it a little bit better. You'll save a bit of time. It takes some initial time to set up, sure. But I think in the long run, you will save time in your editing process and you'll save yourself headaches of clicking through so many different files trying to find that one that you thought you had. All right, give this a thumbs up if you liked what you saw. Hit that subscribe button to get more videos from me at dodmedia. You'll get reviews, tutorials, giveaways on a monthly basis, vlogs, all sorts. Leave a comment in the comment section if you have any questions or tips for other filmmakers. If it's helpful, you might win something free from my store. All right, see you in the next video. The Peugeot 208 is really an innovation in terms of vehicle design. It's got all of the aesthetics that you would like. I don't know why I sound like Stewie Griffin, but this is how it's going to be from now on.